Hi, this is a quick office hour video to reinforce how important it is and to give you a quick set of tips and pointers on how to correctly label a graph. And we're going to apply this to what you just covered on a demand curve. So let's get started. Just as before, our first step is to draw our two axes. And on our vertical axis we have price or P, and on our horizontal axis we have Q or quantity. We're going to spell them out for now just to reinforce that that's what we're going to be showing the relationship between. Now, according to the law of demand, so the law of demand says that as price increases, quantity demanded decreases. So we want to draw a curve that shows that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity. So we're going to draw a downward sloping demand curve and label it D. Now, as you've just learned, there's some reasons why price can change. Rather, not price can change, demand can change. So those reasons that demand can change are changes in tastes, preferences. I guess tastes and preferences are really the same thing, so let's just take that bullet point out there. Tastes, preferences, the number of buyers, the income of those buyers' expectations, and the prices or the price of related goods, specifically the prices of complements to that good and substitutes. Okay, so let's take just one easy example, and actually let's add one more important element to our graph. So when you're drawing a graph, a good first step is to be specific about what market you're talking about. And that is particularly important when you get to this determinant of demand, the price of related goods, because you're talking about more than one good at the same time. So what is this showing the demand for? So let's take an example of something that you might like, or maybe not. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. How about a cup of tea? Okay, so this is the market for tea. So let's say there is a change in people's tastes for tea. And all of a sudden coffee falls out of fashion and everybody just wants to drink tea. What will that do for the demand for tea? Well, if people like tea more, then no matter what the current price is, the demand will increase. Now, this is one way you could draw this graph, and I guess technically it's correct, but it's so vague that if we just add a couple of different elements to this, it will make it very, very obvious what's going on. So, what are those elements? One of those elements is these subscripts. That 1 on D there indicates that that was the first demand curve. And if we draw 2 here, that indicates that that is the second demand curve. Another important element that will help the reader of your graph really understand what's going on is to draw an arrow indicating the direction of the change. Now, the temptation is when you draw an increase in demand is to think about it as shifting up. Avoid this temptation, because when we get to supply curves, you'll see why up isn't really up, or at least what looks like up isn't actually up. Instead, think of an increase in any curve as a shift to the right. So let's put a pointer there. Increases are shifts to the right, and decreases are shifts to the left. Now, as you're practicing making your own graphs at home, One other thing that I would recommend doing is having more than one color of pen or pencil or even a crayon, whatever works. Uh, in the early stages of doing these graphs and drawing these graphs, it can be very easy to confuse which one was the new one and which one was the old one when you just use a single color. So I would highly recommend having one special color that you use for yourself to help symbolize this is a new curve. Okay, let's get back to demand.